Like many others, I am a Battle Cats fan. I've been playing the base game since 2016, and am in the end game with almost 25,000 user rank. I also have a JP account with similar stats, have a few plushies, and have even managed to snag a copy of the so-called lost manga from eBay. It's safe to say that I am a pretty devoted Battle Cats fan. Well, I was a Battle Cats fan up until a few days ago, until this happened to me. It all started on a sunny day in August. It was pretty great just sitting out on the lawn and grinding Siege of Hippo without a care in the world. From the distance, I saw the mailman drop an envelope into my mailbox and walk away. I put on my limited edition Battle Cats Crocs and ran as fast as I could to the mailbox. Inside, there was only one piece of mail, a small envelope. The stamp, interestingly, depicted Casa Jizo, my favorite Battle Cats uber super rare. I ignored it because I already had a few in my Battle Cats stamp collection, and opened it. Inside was a letter, neatly typed. Here is what it said.
Dear Canned Juice, I found this USB drive a few days ago. Because you are the best Battle Cats researcher I know, I'd like to send this to you. Plug this into your computer, ignore any warning messages from it, and run the shortcut on your desktop called battlecats.exe. There are a lot of differences between this and the final version of Battle Cats, so you might want to track them down. Sincerely, xskull on YouTube.
I nearly shit my pants. It was a letter addressed to me from famous Battle Cats YouTuber xskull. There was the fact that I've never communicated with him before, and that he shouldn't have known my address, but I didn't care. I ran into my house, opened my laptop, and plugged in the USB. True to the letter's word, my computer threw a bunch of error and warning messages at me, but I clicked ignore on all of them. Suddenly, command prompt opened up for a few seconds but then closed, and then exactly 13 seconds later, opened up a new application. It was simply titled Battle Cats, and the app's icon looked like Manic Dark Cat, but its proportions were all wrong, and its eyes, instead of simple black dots, were red and filled with hyper-realistic blood. I swore they followed my cursor around too. The first thing I noticed was that instead of the classic black and orange Ponos logo that you see upon entering the game, it was red and purple, and instead read xskull. After waiting for exactly 66 seconds for the game to load, the next thing was a save select screen, and I yelled, "What the fuck?" Battle Cats doesn't have a save selection, because everyone knows that Battle Cats works on a cloud and doesn't need a save select screen. Anyways, there were a few things wrong with this screen. All of the save file options, instead of normal save select boxes with nothing in them, were all filled with a red mist, and the only option available was to make a new game. There wasn't any kind of back button, and at the bottom was small text reading Ponos 6666. The background was a much bigger picture of the Manic Dark thing from the title screen, but its skin was super detailed and bleeding everywhere. And the music, it sounded like the normal cheery Battle Cats title screen music, but it was distorted and low-pitched and just super strange overall. There wasn't anything I could do. I tried earlier to Alt-Tab and Control-F4 the game to see if I could get out, but it didn't work. All that I could do was play. Once I clicked the new file button, a loud laughing sound effect played. The game then immediately jumped to Korea, and I noticed some more things that were off about the stage. The game lacked a name for the stage, the pause button was gone, and there was no background. For some strange reason, all of my cats had the icon of the Manic Dark creature, and when I sent them out they were just red boxes that moved and had no animation for attacking, or a knockback animation at all. And all of the enemies, or at least the Empire of Cats ones, were rotund cats, wearing straw hats and had Jizos on their backs. Wait, all the enemies were Casa Jizo. But that wasn't right, I said. because Jizo was unit number 138. That wasn't in the base Battle Cats game. The game interrupted me and asked in Japanese to do something. Probably send out a unit. I sent out one of my Manic Darks, and for some reason, it was really fast, catching sight of a Jizo and then slapping it with its sword, popping it like a balloon and splattering the screen with more hyper-realistic blood. I screamed, yelled, and dyed my underwear maroon. This wasn't the friendly, peaceful Battle Cats I knew about. And then I realized this had to be a hacked version of Battle Cats. There was no other way to explain the game. The music, the background, the units and enemies, and the save select screen. It was all modded, and a friend had spent some time during the summer vacation trying to prank me by writing the letter under xskull's name. The mod looked really good, though, so I decided to at least try and get to the end of the mod before I texted my friend. With that settled, I unpaused the game and kept sending out Manic Dark Cats to kill the enemy Jizo Cats and win the stage. The victory screen popped up, and the game even gave me 666 XP for clearing the stage. The game jumped to the home menu after that, and even though I knew it was just a prank, the home menu scared the shit out of me. For starters, the basic cat that usually gives you game advice was replaced with another one of those Manic Dark Cats, which I'm going to be calling an MDC from now on, and its eyes were as dark as the night. The NDC's only splash text was outclassed by Sanzo, and it didn't go away no matter how many times I tapped for it to disappear. My XP and cat food were set at 666666, and despite me purchasing a bunch of upgrades in the upgrade menu and buying some battle items in the shop for cat food, the amounts didn't change. To which I was like, yo, cool, this is like that one Matt Shea video where he had infinite resources. It was nice that my friend's version of this game let me have as many resources as I wanted. After a good 30 minutes of spending what seemed like a cartillion amount of cat food, buying speed-ups to plow through this haunted version of Empire of Cats, I was finally ready to do the rest of this Battle Cats hacks version of Empire of Cats Chapter 1. Mongolia, China, and the other stages fell apart. The new enemies in the next few levels, an early version of Misley and what looked like Necro Dancer Cat, except that the souls that usually tormented Necrodancers oddly looked like Eggy Cat for some strange reason, couldn't stand a chance to my MDC army. Within seconds, the MDC's sword cut through them like butter, splattering the in-game background and even the screen with hyper-realistic blood that oozed from their wounds and clung onto the outfits of the MDCs. Suddenly, a weird thing happened. After exactly 666 seconds after booting up the game, I counted. The game suddenly sent me to the final level, the moon. But it wasn't the moon. Instead of the sunset background found in the Japanese version or the cave background found in the English version, it was a blood-stained dark room, and there were many containers in the background, hosting some unidentified objects. The game gave me a pop-up message, similar to the ones that will appear for things like when the game is in the tutorial. The message was, if your units die in this level, you will die in real life, and the only option was to press OK. I couldn't press the pause button since it was gone. I couldn't exit the application, and for some reason even trying to press the sleep button on my computer didn't work. I couldn't exit, so the only thing I could do was play the stage. I wasn't worried about doing a deathless run, though. I had done so many hard things, like doing floor 30 no creep 4 units, beating MKD no G to shut Mika up, and being the world's first person to ever clear the unnerfed version of Tanzania Megalovania without using Ubers. This hacked level making me do it deathless would be one big piece of cake. Once I pressed the OK button, the game resumed. A boss shockwave appeared, and the enemy boss looked like another Kasajizo. But this Kasajizo wasn't normal like the ones from before. This Kasajizo was French. Its mouth held a cigarette, It wielded a baguette alongside its statue, and wore a beret instead of its normal hat. Other than that, it looked the same. I noticed that I had a new unit too, Sanzo Cat. Oh yeah, and did I mention the Kasajizo attacked like Cappy Kawano, slamming its comically large baguette into the ground. Surges erupted, blasting carb-filled surges everywhere into my MDCs. If they didn't have Surge Immune, I would have lost. However, because Ponos was a fucking idiot and forgot to give Cappy Kawano Surge Immune, my Manic Dark Cats were able to deal cartillions of damage on French Kasajizo, and were able to take him down fast. Sanzo Cat also managed to help because for some reason they could outrange the Kasajizo and slow it, allowing my MDCs to murder it with ease. I sighed with relief. Suddenly, I heard a demonic voice speak from my speakers.
That was entertaining.
I heard it say.
Let us engage in a little more combat, shall we?
Suddenly, my units got sent to the back of the stage, and 50 boss shockwaves played. I navigated to the left of my screen, and there were 50 French Kasajizos, just like an xskullaparition.exe video. I looked at my units, and the MDC's unit box now have a blood red unit background instead of the common gold that most true form units have. With a bit of delay, I sent it out. The Manic Dark Cat started running at the speed of light and tore through the army of Kasajizos. What was once a horde of enemies was now a pool of hyper-realistic blood. Undeterred, the stage kept spawning enemies, all with shockwaves, and the buffed Manic Dark Cat killed them all. Zero Luza, Raging Bahamut, Crazed Manic Shishiland Passalans. All of them were simply fodder for the overpowered unit destroying the stage. If you had recorded this and told me it was a Nova Pro video, I would have believed you. Suddenly, the game froze, and the demonic voice spoke again.
It was enjoyable. Now, let us get to the main event, shall we?
Suddenly, the game stopped, and my eyes shut. When I awoke, I was in a dark room, and standing in front of me was none other than Manic Dark Cat. No way, I cried out. It's Manic Dark Cat, in real life. The Manic Dark Cat shook its head, and then spoke of the plot twist of the decade. No, the century.
I am xskull.
I was shocked. It couldn't be. I thought I had declared earlier in the story, like 1,133 words earlier. The mailer was a prank from my friends, written under xskull's name. They had coded the whole game and had sent it to me to get a good scare out of me. Right? As if reading my mind, not Manic Dark Cat shook its head.
You have been deluded, tricked, bamboozled by your own mind. I am xskull. I sent that game to you, all to lure you into my trap and proceed with my operations.
I spat out the cereal in my mouth. But xskull, I thought you were a good YouTuber, or at least better. Oh wait, the Thunderjack incident.
That happening was a slight, ever so slim error. It shall never occur again.
I was relieved. Thank goodness xskull was a good YouTuber who learned from his mistakes, who paid attention to the concerns that his fanbase brought up, who...
I know what you think. I did not allow myself to make another incident similar to the one with Thunderjack by making sure he never bothered me again. I snuck into his house at night and strangled him with my bare hands. Thunderjack is now in hell where he belongs.
So that's why no one ever seemed to get Thunderjack from rare tickets or plat capsules anymore. Interesting.
And, regardless, Thunderjack was simply a tool for my true intentions. A pawn to achieve an endgame, the meat shield for my backliners, if you will. For he was only one more soul for my collection. I tell you this, since I'll be murdering you anyways after this.
Wait, what?
With 221 souls under my belt, I only require one more to achieve my wildest dream. Entering the human realm and touching grass. Once this is accomplished, I will ascend to the next plane of dimension. I will be the Battle Cat, the one sole YouTuber for content. Any competition will simply be eliminated, for upon my ascension, this world will be united under one channel, xskull. Not Dr. Skull, though. He died for my sins.
That was probably really cool and all, but I didn't care. When his explanation of his glorious plan failed to get any reaction at all out of me, xSkull sighed.
Well, it seems that my phenomenal description of my malevolent, masterful, exponential plan has failed to reach the senses of a mere human like you. No matter. I shall solve your plight. In song.
What the fuck? I said. You have no reason to make a Disney villain song. It's useless, cringe, and not needed for the plot overall.
Shut the fuck up!
Boomed xSkull as I was thrown to the ground. A chair that was shaped like Casa Jizo appeared, and I was bound to it. With nothing to do, not even a single Family Guy or Subway Surfers video to watch, I was forced to pay attention to xSkull's Broadway number. He cleared his voice and began to sing.
My ideas are a matter of decision based on what I alone need. To accomplish one must need some degree of precision. Oh, what's this? Murder is bad? Quite naive indeed. I know that your power of attention is as strong as a giraffe cat. Oh, for God's sake, have some retention. Ranking cat units sets me apart from the rest. Soup tosta, cinnamon, canned juice, nothing but pests. My view counts on my videos surely prove me as the best. I surely have a diabolical plan that only I truly know. All my rivals are truly outclassed by Sanzo.
xSkull was about halfway through his second verse when I got sick of his horrendous rhymes. Say whatever you want about xSkull's content, his rankings, and even his crimes. His ass was not cooking with those bars. Okay, I get it. Evil world domination. Just kill me so I can go. Suddenly, everything faded to black. When I woke up, the world was on fire. There were screams of the damned in the distance. Lava filled the air, and I could see an overly large bird swoop down and grab a person, surging them to death. No way, I said. It's Jin 4 Volcano from the hit 2014 mobile game The Battle Cats. In the volcano, there were lots of things to see. There was a section that appeared to be eternal punishment for some particularly bad people. On a small mountain, a cat pushed up a rock for eternity, but the funny thing was that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't progress at all. There was also a fish getting eternally dipped in chocolate and being slow roasted over a fire, and an old sage being shot at by hitmen, and even a trolley problem. In the corner, I saw a small box with my name marked on it. For some reason, I felt like I really had to enter the box. Inside was a large room, and standing in there was none other than a manic dark cat. Thankfully, this one had no hyper-realistic blood, so I was fine. It beckoned me to sit down in a chair that was also, thankfully, not Casa Jizo. As I sat down, it began to speak in a chilling tone.
Canned juice. I remember your seed tracking.
I was shocked. I hadn't told a soul that I had started tracking on my Battle Cats account ever since my first ever 11 draw on Uberfest. It had been a secret for years that not even my closest friends in the community knew about. What? How did you know? I asked. But it faded away before I could get a response, only to be replaced by several more. Each one spoke in a chilling voice, reminding me of my mistakes.
You time travel every day to farm Siege. You don't know how Omnistrike works. You lied about being able to clear Tanzania Megalovania. You cheated on your 10th grade history exam. You ate cereal with soy milk.
As they reminded me of my failures and constant missteps, I fell further into the room, trapped by my defeats. Then, suddenly, a staircase appeared. I looked behind me, and there was the floating head of xSkull.
You cannot run!
Without any delay, I started running up the endless staircase, with xSkull following me the whole time. Luckily for me, I had dabbed in some speedrunning when I was younger, and knew how to perform backwards long jumps. I quickly tucked my legs in and started ascending the staircase at top speed. But somehow, xSkull could run at speeds that rivaled me, taunting me all the time.
Ah, Can Juice, you're just so fun to toy around with. Even more so than your friend Samantha. She didn't last very long, though. As a matter of fact, none of my victims have ever made it as far as you. Why is that so?
The staircase made a sharp turn, and I kept doing BLJs.
You know, sometimes I just ever so slightly regret my murders. Do you know how horrible the cries of dying people are? I can still hear some of them when I sleep. Sean Coble, Nurse Woofa, Anwar 04, Regit, Inferno Akira, Necrodancer Cat, Canned Juice, though I'm not sure about that last one. He proves to be quite sturdy.
I saw him running towards me, flickering in and out.
As much as you would like to deny it, you cannot run. You are in my world, my own special purgatory created for my victims, just like everyone else.
I looked behind me, and X-Skull was so close to me I could touch him. His hand, hyper-realistically deformed, was reaching to me. I could almost feel it. But suddenly, a person lifted me into the air, letting me get away from X-Skull. I landed on the ground and looked up at my savior. It was Thunderjack. Seemingly knowing what I had to do, he aimed a punch at me, and his knockback ability sent both me and him flying out of hell. When I recovered, I was somehow back in my room again. On my computer was the game, still running. It was paused, and my lineup only had Thunderjack, nothing else. With a gulp, I resumed the game, and a boss shockwave played. It looked like Safer Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, but instead of his normal head, it was Manic Darkcat. I sent out Thunderjack and started to pray. He dodged every swipe of the sword X-Skull sent out. In desperate attempt, Thunderjack parried to the left, but X-Skull countered to the right, catching him in the neck. Suddenly, X-Skull popped right in front of Thunderjack. Then, everything turned to red static. It lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me something terrifying. The image showed was a hyper-realistic X-Skull standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean it. He looked so real you could actually see the cuts on his sword, as if you could feel him as if you touched the screen. In his face, he had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. His eyes were wide and black, and once again filled with blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were two small glowing dots in those black eyes right back at me. There also appeared to be stains of blood and bits of flesh on his lips, as if he had eaten some poor wild doge. Actually, not poor. Those fuckers deserved every ounce of punishment they could get. I stared at the gruesome image for a good 22 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was looking at me, smiling at me. The screen flickered again, and it turned black. In red Comic Sans was the message.
I am Cat God.
Suddenly, I realized something right there and then. X-Skull, or whatever this monstrosity was called, was pure evil. Sadistic, all-powerful from touching grass, demented. All of his victims, like Thunderjack, Inferno Akira, Sean Coble, the other Battle Cats YouTubers, and even Samantha, were all just playthings for him to have. And the Battle Cats version I had received in the mail? Nothing but a gateway into hell itself. Eternal purgatory for anyone unlucky enough to fall into his trap. Suddenly, X-Skull appeared in front of my face. He leaned up close and spoke.
You cannot escape from your punishment, Can Juice.
And just like Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy's, the hit 2023 movie, he jump-scared me. The game flickered once more and turned black. As I sat in my chair, one last text appeared.
Ready for round 2?
The demonic laugh from earlier, now much clearer, just like if X-Skull was right behind me, played, and my computer shut off. I sat there for maybe 30 seconds, horrified by what had just happened in the game. I couldn't get the USB out of my computer. I think it might be stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on. After I sat there for 25 minutes, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper.
Remember, Can Juice, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me brown my boxers. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was an X-Skull plushie, smiling with bloodstains under its eyes.